Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this live stream. And today I'm going to be doing some golding of prints. So, who am I? I am Timothy Von Rueden, better known as Vonnart Online. And typically, I do these live streams on Wednesdays, depending on if I have a convention or if I'm available to be here to actually live stream. And I thought this would be a great way to kind of catch up with you guys because the schedule's been so busy with not only conventions, but summer is always kind of crazy with family and friends stuff. But I wanted to take a time to catch up with you guys and gold leaf some of these prints. And these will all be available at DragonCon next week. And I'm very, very excited for it, but there's a lot to do before next weekend. So what way to, catch up, then also it's kind of like a two birds with one stone scenario where I can live stream, but I can also do something that was on my to-do list for DragonCon. So if I sound a little scrambled throughout the stream, it's just because I have so much going on right now. I'm trying to figure out what is a priority, what's a lower priority, and then kind of tackle them as I go because I'm trying to redo my booth quite a bit after getting a lot of feedback and critique from some of my art friends in California. Okay, so hi everyone. And if you want to put where you're watching, I always like to see where you guys are watching from around the world. Hey, Felix. Hello. Felix is one of our wonderful Patreon backers that I have gotten to know very well the last year. I did see your new fan art piece, and it's great. Oh, you're moving back to your Lord of the Rings piece. It's so funny that you say that. I just restarted Rings of Power on Amazon. I don't know why it gets so much hate. I actually like it so far. I I don't understand the. No, mind you, I guess I didn't finish it, so I shouldn't talk until after I finish it. Because some things can have great starts and then they just can't stick the landing. Hashtag Final Fantasy 16, but still good, still good. Hey Yuki, how are you doing? Hello Hallman. Oh Barbara, hello. How are you doing? So I kind of might just jump right into this as well, just so we can keep things moving. And if you have any comments or questions, I don't have a moderator today because Josh is taking our lovely poor kitty to the vet today. So if you could please put before your question in the comment section here on the screen in front of me, and then down here I get Okay, this is a little weird. Okay, if the audio goes off again, let me know in the stream comment section. Weird. Okay, so I checked it beforehand, and then when I started, I could see the green bar moving, and then it just stopped working. Even though it was all connected, everything was on. This is what happens when I'm left to streaming on my own without any of Josh as my tech support helping in. Okay. All right. I can start over. Okay, you ready, guys? Officially, hi everyone. I'm Timothy Von Rieden, better known as Vonnart Online. I typically have some kind of a tech issue on these streams, and today is no different. So thank you for hanging in there with me. But essentially, today I'm going to be gold leafing some prints for DragonCon next week. And I thought, what better way than to do it live on these live streams, kind of catch up with you and hear how you guys are doing and kind of say or speak upon things that have been happening in my own life. But I went through all the tools, but apparently I was on mute. So I'm going to do a really quick refresher. Essentially, I'm going to be working with a very basic metal leaf adhesive. This is a glue that I just trust because it takes about 10 to 20 minutes for it to become tacky. And that's the point at which it's just sticky enough and it's like just the perfect amount of stick for your gold leaf. And I've been tinting it with magenta ink for a few years now. So that is what I'll be doing today. And then the brushes that I'll be using to apply it are pretty standard, nothing fancy here. It's just different size brushes depending on the amount of detail and the area that I'm looking to apply it on. The gold leaf, I have a link below on where you can get gold leaf, but this is going to be your hobby gold leaf. If you want to work with actual carat gold leaf, you're going to have to order that online and make sure it's a reputable website. And then lastly, I was just saying how I work with big thistle brushes at the end to push the gold leaf aside and to clean it up. And this is usually one of the most satisfying parts of the process. Okay, so hopefully this audio doesn't cut out on me now, but basically I was saying, hello everyone. And if you have any comments during the stream, please put @Vonnart because I do not have my mod here today. Josh is taking our kitty to the vet, unfortunately. So if you could put @Vonnart before a question, that way I can see it on the monitor as I'm going in between the gold leafing process and the comment section here, and I don't want to miss anything. And I'll answer any question you have to the best of my ability, whether it's about art, the business side of art, or anything outside of that, whether it's entertainment, whatever it may be. And the only other thing that I wanted to note is I'm also going to be gold leafing this little fall bringer boy today, and this is going to be a special gold leaf print as a giveaway for our Drawtober Discord, which just hit 1,000 members, which is crazy because we just opened it about a month ago. And we're going to really try to push a lot of this year's challenge with Drawtober, which is like a Halloween themed art challenge. And we're going to try to push it a lot on the Discord this year. So as a kind of, I don't want to say a thank you, but as like a commemorative moment, I wanted to do some kind of a giveaway, and that's why I'll be doing 2 fall bringers today, one for DragonCon, one for the Drawtober Discord, and I put a link in the description below if you would like to join that. Okay, enough of me gawking. Here we go. Let's do this. Is everything okay with the kitty? Yes. She is. We found out she's allergic just to everything. So we had to change her food. She's weirdly allergic to rice, flaxseed, and sage. So I can't burn sage anymore around the house, which is totally fine. But she's super allergic to this fungus spore that apparently is just outside everywhere, unfortunately. So Josh is getting her. She's getting a shot today, and apparently she's on this treatment where she hopefully will kind of heal up, or like things won't hit her as bad of an allergic reaction in the future. So hopefully that works. Okay, so I should also describe what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I just poured a little bit of glue on a typical paper plate, and I'm gonna mix the 2 drops that I did of magenta in the glue. You really don't need much more than that. Sometimes I even do just 1 drop of magenta ink because it'll really tint the glue. As you can see, it's pretty pink. You don't really have to go excessive with the ink droplets here. Like that. Okay, so for each of these, I'll kind of talk about where I want to place the gold leaf. And as I always do this with my pencil prints, I can zoom in a little bit here. I try to have it be more of an accent. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I think the gold works best when it is just like complementing the art. It's not like overbearing. So on this piece, I'm going to do these 3 circles here. And then I think the little dots that are right beside her head here. So that is what I'll be doing for this one. Hey, I'm excited that you guys are excited for Drawtober. Felix, I hope there is a really fun prompt that I can sink my teeth into during September. I'm so busy during October that I can probably only do one, but it's such a breakthrough for me last year. I don't want to give it up fully. I feel like, knowing you, there are 2 that I think you'll like. So if you'll be able to pick between those 2 on which one you'll want to do. But I can't give away what the prompts are yet. But they'll be released. What is it? Next Friday. Yeah, because that's September 1st. And it's fun. Something I can announce is we are being officially sponsored. We're partnering with Zens Labs. I believe that's how you pronounce their name. And they are a tablet / Cintiq type style company. And they want to partner up with us this year. They reached out. They're going to give each of the prompts, like each of the 6, a tablet that you can win essentially for free. And then they're going to pick a grand prize winner. So who went above and beyond with their submissions, they're going to get their version of a Cintiq, which is crazy cool. And we're just really excited to partner with them. We're hoping that this is something we can do every year, where we can find sponsors and we can really give back to the community, because there is really not a profit gain in Drawtober for the host running it. It's more of like a really fun community-centric thing that I never want to give up, and I never want the focus to be money based. I don't want it to be like something where I have to earn a profit from it, because in my mind I'm thinking, yes, even though I have to order the pins, and yes, technically it does take a loss every year, I really have so much fun with it, and having other people that love Halloween just as much as I do, it's almost like a reason for why even be alive, this is a fun thing with other people around the world that I may never meet, but we share an interest in this beautiful holiday, and I want to continue that throughout the years. So one of the fun things that we can do is give back to the community by partnering with different companies to add to the prizes or add to the awards. And I think next year we're going to even start reaching out a bit more to different art companies, or different Halloween specific companies that maybe can throw in a couple prizes here and there. So yeah, we're hoping just to continue growing it, and especially with social media kind of being on fire, we're really focusing more on Discord this year, and it's kind of like the experimental year, because if it works well on Discord, then it kind of shows us that the path forward might be specifically on Discord, and keep that community alive, not through a social media, but through more of these thread-based channels, or communicate. I don't even know, what would you consider Discord? What is Discord? An app? I don't know if I would call it an app, but kind of, right? Yuki, do you plan where to put the gold leaf before the piece, or do you decide when the piece is done? If I was more methodical when it comes to my art, I would say I should plan before I even do the drawing of okay, I really want there to be a circle behind this character's head that I know I want there to be gold, or I want there to be lanterns that are lit. I really don't pre-plan a lot. So oftentimes I'll look at a drawing when it's done, and I'll be like, where can I apply the gold on this one? And sometimes that works. There are definitely some drawings where I low-key feel like I'm forcing the gold to work as an accent, because it didn't really have like a specific place that I intended the gold to be. So in the future, I really should do like a piece that was like made for gold leaf. Like it very much like has lines, you know, directing out of a circle or something, and all those lines could be like rays of gold. So yeah. Yeah, see Adam's art. I'm such an old person. I can't figure out how Discord even works. Trust me, I feel somewhat similar in your boat, but I feel like because I have to use Discord for my Patreon and the different friend groups that I'm in, I feel like I've just kind of learned through experience or just through literally working with it. I still don't know a lot of the advanced features, but you know, I feel like I can get the basics down. And I feel like if you just give it a little try, I feel like you'll be fine. Okay, so as you can see, let me move it even closer. I mean, this one's definitely more of an accent because with just these 3 circles, oh wait, that's right, I was gonna do these up here too. Now, something I should note is you don't want a lot of the glue on the brush for these smaller areas because if it's too thick, it'll gob up. And when you apply the gold leaf, it'll almost create like, if you can imagine a small hill of glue that you're putting on it, when you put the gold on, the gold's not gonna lie flat because you have a dried bump of glue. So instead you want the glue to be as flat as possible so the gold can lie as flat as possible. So on these 2 little dots up here, I'm applying it very, very thinly so that I don't create those mounds that I'm talking about. Okay, now for each of these, I'm gonna set them aside to let them draw. So essentially, this one at this stage is finished. So this is all we have to do at this point, and now we just play the waiting game. Now, something I'm gonna be careful with, last time I did this, I gold leafed this drawing, and when I set it down, I set it too close to the chair, so it's kind of hard to see on the stream. Let me see if I can move this. Do you see this wheel mark? I was too embarrassed to show it, but I literally rolled over the corner of the print. So I'm going to be way more careful today, and I'm going to make sure that I lay them far away enough so that I don't accidentally roll over them with my chair. Okay. So now I got 2 of the fall bringers that I want to do today. So let's see here. I got to choose a bigger brush. So now this one, I'm going to do the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and then the little candle and the fireflies that are surrounding him. Now this drawing is interesting because this is one of my favorite drawings I've ever done. And partly because I think it really showcases kind of the more fun side of my personality. And it shows how much I love Halloween. I love drawing texture, and I just love drawing shape dynamic, shape complement, whatever I'm trying to say. I love drawing different forms of shapes bumping up against each other, and I feel like this definitely has that with like a bunch of triangular shapes, a bunch of circular shapes, and I really like this drawing. So I always try to bring it to cons and I try to give it special attention. But more so than anything, I love being a storyteller. And with this piece, I like the idea, I call him the Fallbringer because the idea is every step that he takes, another ghost comes out of his wand. So I like to think that all through September, he's just like running everywhere, getting everyone kind of prepped for the upcoming fall season. So something I am going to do on this stream that I didn't do as much on the other stream is I'm going to turn the piece depending on where I need it, because sometimes I like my streams to be really clean and have the drawing just be upright the whole time so it's easier for you guys to see it. But I definitely can move much faster if I can just keep turning the drawing how I normally would when I'm working not on a live stream. So I figured I'm going to give you a sample of how I actually work. And hopefully this isn't too disorienting for you guys as I'm turning it. Um, Also, I kind of want to ask if anyone has played Final Fantasy 16. I mean, no spoilers, but what did you think of the game as a whole and the ending? Because I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite series of all time. Final Fantasy X specifically is my favorite game of all time. And I went into this game very skeptical because the trailers didn't really win me over. And then the first half of the game I thought was actually great. I would say overall I would have given it like an 8 or a 9, and there were a couple moments where it did feel like a 10 out of 10 experience. Like I loved playing it. But then about halfway through, like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the tone changes, and I really loved the first half where it was this like Game of Thrones political intrigue, and then it really shifts its tone, and the ending left a very sour taste in my mouth, we'll just say. And it really bothers me when I like something a lot, but it doesn't seem to stick the landing, especially in movies, because then I don't even want to rewatch it. And I know a lot of people feel that way with Game of Thrones. Now, I personally never watched more than the first 3 seasons, but a lot of my friends that read the books and were super excited about Game of Thrones, they hated the 8th season so much that they actually stopped. Like they have zero rewatchability, or they don't want to rewatch it again, and they don't even recommend it to other people because they don't want other people to be disappointed. And I kind of feel a similar vibe with 16, even though I'm very happy with the developers for taking these different risks, like committing to an M rating and really diving back into like a dark fantasy with tones that are definitely more mature. And it was like appreciated because a lot of us grew up with Final Fantasy games, and a lot of us are now in our 30s if not 40s, and to play a game that felt like it grew up with you, it was really nice. It felt like they understood their fan base. But I'm not going to say much more than that. I'll just say I still think it's a good game. I just think the first half is definitely better than the second half, and I hope they can learn from this moving forward, and I really hope they come out with a DLC to kind of clean up some of the I'm gonna say mistakes in that ending, but we'll see. Either way, there's been so many good games out recently, and I like to watch Josh play a lot of games, so I'm really excited about Lies of P that comes out in a couple weeks. So I'm definitely going to watch him play that. And then I'm going to watch him play the Resident Evil 4 remake. He started it, but then we decided to just wait for September and October where I can work on my Drawtober prints or drawings. And then what was the other game? Oh, the new Texas Chainsaw game came out that he has been enjoying quite a bit. Oh, Felix, you were disappointed with Diablo 4. It's just a slower, clunkier version of Diablo 3. I never played any of the Diablo games before this one, and I was going to pick it back up in the winter when my schedule is a little bit more open, but I did like how it reminded me of old school Gauntlet Legends. I think playing it with friends is definitely way better than alone. I don't think I could play that game just by myself, but I did like it. I have to admit, I went in kind of skeptical to that one, but it ended up winning me over. So I feel bad that you didn't enjoy it as much, but I don't know if you're playing it solo or with friends. I will say I feel like it's a much better experience playing it with other people. And then I definitely don't want to talk about Pikmin 4 because that demo was so bad that it actually made me not want to buy the game, even though Pikmin 3 is one of my all-time favorite games ever. But I was so excited for Pikmin 4. I've been like the biggest fan, and then playing that demo, like I almost cried. I was so heartbroken at what that game became. It's basically just for babies now. I don't know if any of you feel that way with games where they don't like progress with their audience or they don't age up. I don't know how many of you would prefer this, but me and my friends were talking about this. I would love a Pokemon game that's difficult. Like I would love to play a game that is actually kind of hard to get through. And I think a lot of the newer Pokemon games, they just feel like they're for kids. But when you grew up playing the Pokemon games, they felt difficult. And I'm like, man, I kind of want that same experience, because the last time I played a Pokemon game was like 3 or 4 years ago, and it didn't captivate me at all. Really quick, so this one is basically finished. So I'll do the second one off stream. That way you don't have to see me do the same little drawing twice. So we're gonna move on to this. From this one, we're gonna put this one aside, but like I said before, we're gonna throw it a little further away from my chair so I don't roll over it. Let's see, which one do I want to do next? Let's do a bigger circle one. Actually, this is the one that always sells at conventions. And whenever I do these gold leaf drawings, I decided I'm only going to bring one of each of these prints to conventions. So I will only have one of this drawing I call the Demon's Facade. So I'm only going to have one of her at Dragon Con. And this one, like, always sells at cons. So I definitely want to keep bringing her to every convention that I do. Now, whenever I'm doing an area, you can kind of see how I have this line around the circle. A little trick that I do is I just paint over the line just a little bit, because you don't want to lay the gold leaf down and then to have a line that makes it look like you didn't quite fill it in properly. So a way to kind of bypass that is just literally paint over the line. And kind of a little fun thing for this print. Wait, let me get a sip of water here. I don't know if it's just the way that it's spelled that people have never seen the word facade, but I have heard so many different renditions of Demon's Facade at conventions. I've heard Demon's Facade, Demon's Facade, and then what was the other one? Oh, there's one more. I have to think about it. But it is very interesting because I don't feel like I should correct them half the time. I don't want them to feel embarrassed, but when they ask for a Demon's Facade print, I'll just be like, oh, yep, okay, coming up, one Demon's Facade. What is the other one? Facade? Facade. I can't think of the third one. I know there's a third one because I used to take a tally of what people would call this print. I'm just gonna have like a fun game behind the booth to pass the time. But the whole reason I call her that is I like the idea of it kind of plays on the pretty girl stereotype in art, where you see the pretty girl immediately when you look at this drawing. You see the pretty face. But then the longer you look at the drawing, the more kind of uncomfortable it becomes, and the more you realize something is not right. And I like the idea that it's actually a demon with this pretty female facade, and it's trying to lure you in. It's like that Mona Lisa smile where you can't tell if it's more of a devious intention behind the look or what's going on with her. I am going to fill in the areas in between the horns because it really bothers people when I do not. And I don't feel strongly either way to not fill them in, so I'm going to fill them in here. Okay. So now for bigger areas, I definitely want to push the glue around. I don't want it to become clumpy. So I'll typically lay it on and then I'll brush the edges so that it doesn't accumulate any of those bumps that I was mentioning earlier. You don't want any bumps in your piece. So you know what? I'll fill the area in first and then I'll get to the detailing near the face. because these areas can be a little tricky because obviously I don't want to go too far over the face. Otherwise I'll cover too much of it up. So let me first get the area around the circle first. So just as a curious thing on my own end, if anyone's seen both Rings of Power and the House of Dragon, which did you prefer? I haven't finished both of them, or I haven't finished either of them, I should say. But I am curious because I've had so many people tell me mixed reactions on which one they liked better. I'm kind of curious if anyone watching here has a preference for which they enjoyed more and why. Actually, I kind of want to know why though too. Oh, hey Erica. Hi Tom. That's my dad's name, but I'll accept it as well. How was Gen Con? Gen Con was incredible for a few different reasons. So the first is I brought my 3 younger cousins, who are basically my 3 little brothers, for the first time, and we play board games all the time together. We have even a chart that we keep track of who wins and what games that we win, because we bet $2 on every game. And as generic as it is, we do think Catan is the best board game. But we do play a lot of other nerdier games, so we're not just playing, the most popular ones. But that was a lot of fun, and we got a hotel room with just them. So at nights, we were just up till like 2 a.m. every night playing board games. That was a blast. Secondly, I went to this show, and I didn't realize how much I needed like outside validation from other artists. Kind of a little personal here, but I've been feeling definitely a little on the downward just because of the way social media has been going recently. And I know everyone's kind of feeling it to their own degree, but I was definitely feeling like I've fallen from understanding what works well in the art world or what works on social media. And even at this convention, I was doing worse than last year, but a lot of these California kids, as I call them, on their own time, either came up to my booth or they just had really, really nice things to say about my work or how they see me as an inspiration. And it's crazy because they make like insane numbers at these cons, like financial numbers. They make between like double, triple, and sometimes even 4 times as much as I make. And people think I make a lot of money at cons, so you can only imagine what these artists make. Now, mind you, yes, they do fan art, so there is more of a broader appeal, but I'm not going to knock them for that. Everyone does whatever art speaks to them. And what was really reassuring though is they each just told me how much they see me as an inspiration in the art world, or like someone that is like a leader because of the attitude that I have at shows or wanting to help people. And I got not emotional, but I definitely felt the love from the other artists, that it just felt really nice. It felt really, really nice. So despite how it went financially, now mind you, I did good. I hit the goal that I wanted to, but I was a little down from last year. And I think everyone kind of internalizes that, well, whenever you do a little worse than a previous year at a show. But what was great is these Cali kids gave me a lot of suggestions on what to do next year. And then one specifically, her name is Devin L. Kurtz. You guys might know her. She's a very wonderful person and an artist that really knows like the ins and outs of what's working right now. But anyways, let me take a sip of water for a second. What was nice about her though is she asked if we could do a call together, and on this call she gave me this like unfiltered constructive critique of what I can do better on my booth for the next few shows, and what she thinks is working, what's not working. And just to see her want to help me, and it felt like she wanted to see me like succeed, it was very comforting. So I won't get too much more into it, but it was just very, very nice on how much, other artists want to help you, or like you can feel the love from them. So I always believe in karma. So definitely if you give good energy out and if you really, you know, try to help other people, like you will get it. Maybe not in like a near future scenario, but I feel like I felt a lot of that love from Gen Con, and I'm making a lot of changes because of it. So actually, like I said, I don't want to go too much on a tangent on this, but I got a new printer. We're going to start printing bigger prints. And then I found a manufacturer that can print the gold on the prints without me having to hand gold every single one. And that was one of the biggest critiques I got was I shouldn't be hand golding every single print. Doing exclusive gold leaf prints like this is smart because then it adds more of like a hand touched exclusivity feeling behind it. But if you do it to every single print, and because of the upcharge on it, I might be zoning myself out of the general audience's spending capabilities. Because if you mark your stuff too high, yeah, you might be seen more as a fine artist, and there might be more of like that, prestige. But you're not allowing like a 17-year-old who has maybe $30 in their pocket to buy a print from you because you're too expensive. Really quick, this one is good to go. So I'm going to keep moving on to the next one while I'm continuing this ramble. And maybe for the next one, let me do my relinquished fox. So this one, I'm going to essentially do the line that's cutting right through his body and then the little droplets of blood that he's spitting out. Some other tips that I got that I want to share with you guys is, obviously this is more for convention artists if you want to go to shows, but maybe some of you are just curious about knowledge like this on behind the scenes stuff. One of them was don't have a price tag on every single print. And I'm going to be trying this at DragonCon next week, where I'm only going to have like a price sign on the table, and it'll be small prints, 35, and large prints, 70, and it's buy two, get one free. I'm kind of reinstating that because that seems to work very well right now, and this is more for American cons. I don't know outside of the States what is popular, what's trending. But I do know, at least within the United States, people that do have the buy to get one free, it seems to be working very well right now for them. What was the other? Oh, I'm taking the prints that I hang behind me off of the backdrop, and I'm only going to be putting big impact pieces behind me. And the idea behind that is that you are drawing people's attention to your booth through these larger images, and then when they come to your booth, they'll find something within their price range that they can afford, or even maybe buy the big one that they have behind you. But the whole point of them is to draw people closer to your booth. They want to see the art. They don't want to be distracted by text or a banner that is too big and maybe doesn't have anything to sell from it. But I have seen it work for other artists where they have like a massive, like 10-foot banner, and that's the piece that draws people in. And that has worked for them as well. So I don't want to say that that doesn't work, but I think for myself, I've hung like the prints behind me, and I think I'm going to try to change that up. And I'll definitely let you guys know what works, what doesn't work, because I don't want to gatekeep anything. And I feel like, kind of like what I was mentioning before, the more that you help other artists, it does come back to you, and maybe in ways that you're not even aware of, like the respect that you garner through the community, or just them giving you critique that maybe you didn't know you needed. Anyways, Chris Vita says, "Ayo, what's poppin', dude? How have you been? Hope you've been doing great. Any tips on self-confidence? How do you ensure yourself you're worthy of love and appreciation?" Let's see here. Any tips on confidence? I feel the most confident when I'm able to speak up for myself, or more importantly, when I'm able to say no. I think it's very important to stand up for yourself in a way where it might be uncomfortable because it might be with close friends. But as an example, earlier this year, I got a good piece of advice from Babs Webb, who is another fantastic artist that you should check out. And she was talking about how she was in this like standing up for herself era, and she was gonna start telling people if they said something that rubbed her the wrong way or made a joke about her that was a little inappropriate, she wasn't gonna just be a doormat anymore, and she was gonna speak up about it. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I like that energy. I'm gonna try doing that too. And there were two specific examples I can think of. Obviously, I'm not gonna name names or anything, but I basically pulled this person aside after they may have said or done something to me that I didn't feel like was trying to be funny. It was like literally just trying to dig at me. And it was obviously uncomfortable in the moment talking about it. But then afterwards, I definitely saw and felt the shift. Like I could feel that they respected me more because I was able to verbalize what I wanted to see moving forward in the future and like why this thing made me feel uncomfortable. And I feel like I'm very easygoing, and I'm definitely one of those people who nothing really offends me if it's a joke. But if you're coming at like my art or my living situation or whatever it is in a manner that doesn't feel like there's a humor behind it, like the intention just felt like bitter or a little malicious, then I'm going to start saying something. So, long story short, I think you have to be brave to stick up for yourself. And from those moments of courage, I think that's where you find self confidence. And another really good example is when I quit my full time job to do art full time, I was terrified. I think a lot of people just assume when an artist hits a certain point that it's easy or like it becomes easier. But especially when you're an independent artist that really doesn't do freelance work or commission work, it's terrifying because you never know where the money is going to come from, or if you have a bad convention, like what happens. And especially quitting my full-time job, I was getting at that time it was like 80K. I had benefits. I was putting money into a 401k. I actually liked my job. It was with cgcookie.com. I really liked my boss. I liked my coworkers. But the problem was I was doing my 9 to 5 teaching job where I was still doing art, but it was very digital. It was very consuming. And then at nights, I would do my pencil drawings. And on the weekends, I would go to conventions. And I would do that just on loop for, it was like 2 or 3 years. And there got to a point where I felt so burnt out. I was like, I can't physically do this anymore. I have to choose between my full-time job and my independent art job that I still didn't really know where it was going. I just knew it was going well-ish, and I saw potential in it. So I guess if you're trying to find self-confidence, know that it doesn't happen overnight typically. Usually there's like a build-up, and then there's a moment where you take action. I feel like the moment after you take action is where you establish a little more of that self-confidence within. And people that seem really self-confident just have a lot of these moments where they took action, and they're like stacking these moments of confidence upon themselves to the point where they feel confident moving forward in any direction because they know how to get over those uncomfortable speed bumps or hurdles in their life. So yeah, I hope that helps. I know sometimes I ramble when I do these kind of stories or when I try to give advice, but I hope that made sense. And the second question, how do you ensure yourself you're worthy of love or appreciation? You just are. You are worthy of love and appreciation, but you can't expect it from other people. And I think that's the harsh truth that a lot of people have a hard time accepting. And it's the idea that, yes, everyone's worthy of love, but that doesn't mean you just get it. And I think kind of going back to the self-confidence thing, it's not expecting to get it from everyone. And if you can just love yourself first, I mean, this is very RuPaul of me to say this, but you don't know how to love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else? And it's the whole idea that don't worry about how other people view you. And yes, easier said than done, and we all do it to a certain degree. But if you can really focus on who you are as a person, what do you like about yourself, and try to be nicer to yourself, because I think a lot of the times it's just our own voices in our head being kind of mean to us. And I think we need to learn to switch it from being such a negative focus into more of a positive one. Because if you kind of give off more of a positive outlook, people can read into that. And people will give you more of that self-love, or not self-love, but more of that appreciation that you might be seeking, because the energy you're giving out is such a positive one. And you know what? Here's a small tip that I learned. I think it was earlier this year, or no, late last year, and it's really helped me a lot. Is if I'm in a disagreement with someone and we're having either a debate or whatever it is we're talking about, I'll always disagree with a smile, and not in a way that's condescending, but in a way that's like, you can say whatever you want, and I'm not going to judge you or put you down for your belief or for your point that you're trying to make. And I want you to know that I'm listening, and I am not dismissing whatever it is you're saying. So that was something that really helped for arguments. Anyways, okay, tangent over. This one is finished as well. I'm going to put this on our makeshift drying rack down there. Let's see. Let's do our merman here. So this is my Tristan. I call him the Banished Prince. And the quick story behind him is he stole the conch from his father, which is King Triton. Everyone knows that Triton had 7 daughters, the 7 seas, but I like to think that he had a son that he doesn't like to talk about because Triton doesn't want to give up power. Anyways, Triton's power comes from his conch. That's how he blows, you know, the what are those called? Not tsunami, maybe it's tsunamis, but basically he calls upon disasters within the water to like destroy ships and whatnot from the conch. So I like the idea that Tristan stole it, but Tristan didn't realize that the conch had a curse on it, that whoever steals the conch, if it's not Triton holding it, they can no longer speak. And instead, when they try to speak, it forms in black bubbles that go all the way up to the surface, and when they pop on the surface, then you can hear them, but under the water, they just appear as these black bubbles. So I like the idea that also it curses whoever has it, not just the bubbles, but then their fins and everything becomes spikier, and it becomes more like organically, I guess spiky. I can't think of a more fun word. But as you can see, it's starting to affect him on his scales and on his fin here. But for the gold leafing here, I'm going to randomly assign these scales to be golden. Think of the, what's that children's book? Is it the Rainbow Fish? Magic Rainbow Fish? I think it's just called the Rainbow. Oh, what is it called? But the whole idea is you just give different scales the fun gold texture. And then I'm going to also gold his earrings. And I think that's what I'm going to do for him. Yeah, let's do that then. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of randomly gold over some of these scales. And what's fun with doing this randomly is if I do this print in the future for other shows, there's a really good chance that it'll be different just based on the fact that I did it randomly. So every Tristan print that someone gets from me will probably have different scales that are golded on it. Oh boy, there have been a lot of comments. Hold on, let me find one here. What is the pink substance? This is the glue that I tinted with 2 drops of magenta ink to give that pink appearance. Private Banker says, I agree, just try not to do this alone. You need a team, a business plan, a trust, a brokerage bank account, also a Roth IRA. Um, I still do have my Roth IRA, and I do add to it when I can. But right now, I'm saving for a wedding next June, so a lot of my excess funds are going into that right now. But then once the wedding's over, I'll definitely add more again to my IRS because, or my Roth IRA, because I get a little nervous thinking about the future as an artist, where if you aren't as well received online, well, what happens when either Josh or I or we're 50 years old, and what if one of us gets cancer? How are we going to pay for these medical bills? So I definitely want more of a savings and a plan moving forward for sure. Felix says, I feel very much out of my depth answering con questions, but I guess when you're new at it yourself, you seem more approachable. Yeah, I definitely think, well, this could be a whole other stream talk about, but there are artists that will purposely make their boots look worse to feel more relatable to the general public. I have mixed feelings about this, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, Felix. But that is such a weird route for me to think about going that I just can't resonate with it to do it myself. But I do understand the tactic. It's just something I don't think I would ever do personally. Brad says, do you do a lot of research on the mythology? Kind of. I mean, a lot of fantasy stories I grew up with, so it's like my own remembrance and understanding. So obviously this story is made up. Tristan doesn't exist. But I like the idea of it, and sometimes my brain will run with a story, and then I'll just create these elaborate, or not even elaborate, just very simple stories with like a setup, what's happening, and a payoff. And I guess that's how Tristan was created. But I was very much interested in Greek mythology when I was younger, and just fairy tales in general. And then I got super obsessed with video game lore. Like, I know way too much about the fighting game Tekken. I know a little bit about Mortal Kombat's Bloody Roar. I still know a lot of the story of. And then obviously like the Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Twist Metal Black, even SSX3, like just random games. I was really obsessed with understanding the character desires and like why they were competing, if it was like a competing type video game, or why they were fighting for what they were fighting. I don't know, that stuff really intrigues me. I think that's why I get so let down when I feel like games drop the ball on understanding that these characters were so fascinating, but when you strip that away, it kind of takes away from them feeling like real people. I think Tekken's actually a great example where every game there was like a different story arc, and they would get older, there would be like a costume change, and then by the fifth one they just kind of recycled what worked in the fourth one, and they didn't really change costumes that much, and they just kind of got beefier, and it kind of ruined it for me, because I liked how every iteration of the game they gave each character a new wardrobe, and they kind of gave a little bit more backstory as to where they are now and why are they still fighting for it, or why, what are they fighting for now. And they just kind of got to that point where it's like, okay, well, this is the most popular outfit from previous games, so we're just going to keep recycling this outfit forever on that character, and that's now forever this like character's outfit, which I really don't like, because then it's like, oh well, you're not taking risks anymore, you're just assessing what worked on like a financial popular level, which never really struck a good chord with me. Anyways, how do I manage to keep my drawing so clean? I always make a mess, LMAO. I primarily work with a 2H pencil, and it's very easy to clean up a 2H pencil versus like a HB, or definitely any of the B pencils. So like if you're working with a 3B, if you lay that down pretty hard, no amount of erasing is going to lift that back up. Oh, you know what? I actually might do... No, I don't want to do the dots on the top two. I think just the 3 earrings and then these scales. Maybe I'll do one more scale. And I also keep an eraser at hand, so I try to erase as I go. And then the last thing is kind of an obvious one, but when I render left to right because I'm right-handed, and you'll be surprised on how much cleaner your drawings can be just by working in a way that your hand's not laying on top of the graphite that you've already put down. Okay, I like where I put the scales on that one. So I'm gonna also set him down. Let's see here. We're gonna do this one next. I think this one we're gonna keep it pretty simple. I think I might do the moon that she's holding. Let me move this up. And then, let's see here. I'll do some of the dots on her wardrobe and then maybe the firefly stars around her. So let me switch back to my big brush again. Cursevita says, is it a special kind of glue? It is. It is a metal leaf adhesive. So as long as it says this on the product, you'll be fine. I really like that product specifically. It's a very standard basic one, but I feel like it does a really good job for being a quote unquote basic metal leaf glue. Ooh. You know, I really like painting, but I don't think I would ever enjoy it enough to like do a full oil painting. I think I get too nervous with paints compared to pencils. I do like that you can fill larger areas in much quicker though, because with a pencil, sometimes it feels like you're just rendering forever. Let me move this microphone a little bit. Keep bumping it. I think after this one, I gotta go wash my brushes because they're starting to harden on the thistles. And I don't want to ruin these brushes because I actually really like using them for gold leaf. Just make sure you have a nice steady hand to get around those corners. Felix says, I also have a tough time just saying people should just do the cons because a couple of people barely make back table at the last con I was at, so you don't know who to recommend cons to someone who's too new. Yes. Well, it's funny because if you can tell someone wants to do cons, I definitely think they should throw themselves at doing them, because I do think one of the ways to get better at cons is just by doing them. But I do agree with you that not everyone's demeanor or art is good for conventions. I think you have to have some level of understanding of like presentation, and then definitely some level of being able to interact with people, especially when you're starting out, and then knowing how to display things so that people can either get a good grasp of what it is your vibe or your art is, or that they can understand how much something costs. They're not confused by that at all. Display is such a big part of conventions, and like most of us are not taught about that in school. Like you kind of just learn by walking around a con and seeing like what you like, what you don't like, but then you really start to understand it when you start to make friends with some of the con artists and you ask like what seemed to work or what didn't work for you. Now, something that I am doing with my own convention friends is I'm no longer sharing numbers, like how much I made that weekend. And I think part of it is sometimes when you do that, it can create this totem pole mentality within your friend group of like who's doing better than who and judging people based on that. And I love my friends, and I don't want to see that become the trend where we're seeing each other as like direct competition. And even though we are to some degree, like I also want to see all my friends succeed. Like I don't want to see any of them fail. So I don't want it to become this compare contrast where it can become a negative thing, because I had a friend who really felt like he was on the bottom of the totem pole, and I think that really just affected him over the years, where newer people were coming in and they were making more than him, and then he became like the butt of the joke with like, oh well, I'm doing so bad, I'm almost doing as worse as so and so. And it just it rubbed me the wrong way, where I was like, I don't want to see my friend feel demoralized from doing this, we should be building each other up, not tearing each other down. So long story into the idea that, yes, I don't think it is just right to say, oh, you should just do conventions because you do art, you want to make money, because not every artist makes money doing cons. And I've known a lot of artists that don't make a lot of money at all, like kind of like you were saying, like they just make table. And you know, if they had a good experience, then I guess it's still worth it. But if they went into it for a financial gain as like their main reason, their driving force, then that might not be the route for them. And that's okay. There's so many ways to go as a modern artist nowadays. I mean, heck, like it's like Patreon, YouTube, Gumroad. What are the other big ones? I'm having brain farts right now. But heck, even like doing social media and trying to play the game of like TikTok and Instagram, or what is now X, so that you can drive your digital sales through your shop or whatever it is that you're doing. There's just so many different avenues you can take nowadays. I feel very lucky to be alive during this period, I'll just say. Okay, I think I golded everywhere that I wanted on her, so we're going to put her aside. You know what, really quick, I'm going to wash my brushes. I feel like they are drying up, so be right back. Be right back. Oh, I dropped one. Want to say hi to the con people really quick? You want to say hi really quick?
Oh, yeah.
Just don't step on any of the...
Want to get these stuck to my foot. Hi, everybody. How's it
So,
going?
Josh officially returned.
Hello. Asher got her first allergy shot, so we'll see.
And I was telling him that's where you were.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. She was not happy today.
No.
No. It was okay.
She's not the biggest fan of going to the vet.
No. Yeah. They had to grab someone else to help hold her down.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, there's 3 of us. It'll be fine.
Sad.
Yeah. I hope everyone's doing well. I miss you all. And yeah, I'll see you all soon.
Right. Well, thank you, Josh.
Felix, I guess. All right, I'm out. All right, love you.
Love you too. Okay. So this is my Suncatcher piece, and the short on this one is essentially I wanted to do this very ethereal, kind of like godlike representation of this character, but I love the idea that he's wearing a coat of just like junk, just like random trinkety things. And a lot of the trinkety things are things that I found at thrift stores or at Goodwill or at hobby stores. So a lot of these little ornamentations or things that he's wearing are just kind of like trinkety junk stuff. So I like the contrast between like this ethereal heavenly figure wearing like this coat of essentially trash. Well, not to me, obviously. I don't see it as the trinket stuff as trash, but I could see how other people would see like just clutter. But I feel like that's kind of my art style. Not trash necessarily, but I like ornamentation. I like maximalism. And I think this piece definitely kind of shows that. So I do like this drawing quite a bit too. Do I like fighting games currently? Not anymore. I feel like growing up, I definitely liked them more. Like I definitely grew up with the Bloody Roars, the Tekken, the Mortal Kombat stuff. Never really played Street Fighter. What's the other big one? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. But basically, yeah, those were the 2 that I played, or the 3 that I played primarily. And then I got kind of swept into more of the RPG stuff. And then when I was like 6th grade, I think that's when Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X came out, and then that's when I played them. Those grabbed me by the core, and I was obsessed with RPG games, I think, from there moving forward. And it's funny because nowadays I feel like I haven't played a lot of RPGs that really captivated me, or at least I didn't until I want to say it was like I don't know, it was like 2021. When did Elden Ring come out? Was that 2021? Elden Ring really set the tone moving forward. Oh, Josh, is Casper right outside my door? I think poor Casper's trying to get in, but he can't for some reason. Oh, here you go, Casper. Hi. Hey, Josh. Josh, can you grab Casper? Or maybe I don't want him stepping on the prints. I just don't want him stepping on the prints. There we go. Oh yeah, that was the other one. Soul Calibur. Thank you, Adam. That was the other one that I played, and I tried to get into the lore, but that one was definitely a little more confusing to me. Somehow more confusing than Mortal Kombat. What was I saying? Yeah, Elden Ring, like, opened my eyes to what the future of RPGs could be, and I was obsessed. I loved Elden Ring. Very frustrating, though, I must admit, because I've never played a FromSoft game before, and that one being my first was very challenging. Because I was determined to be a spellcaster. Oh boy, that game is very difficult if you're only using one spell for the first 40 hours of the game, and the spell doesn't really seem to be doing a great amount of damage, but you don't really know where to get new spells from. And I was too stubborn to like look things up. So my experience with Elden Ring was very good, but also I was very frustrated for a good chunk of it. But then right after that one, I played Bloodborne, and that was fantastic. I had a much better time with the combat in that one, and I loved the narration behind it and like the Victorian theme of it all. That's why I'm kind of excited for the Lies of P game, even though I know they're kind of like directly ripping FromSoft, and it feels weird that it's not a FromSoft game considering how much it feels like they ripped from the studio. I don't know if anyone's tried the Lies of P demo, but it definitely feels like a direct rip of FromSoft games. Anyways, let's see here. Curse Fetus, I wish I could buy one of your awesome drawings some days. You're a goal to strive to. I love your stuff, man. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to make my prints much cheaper without the gold on them, because for a while, I want to say the last year and a half, at cons, they were $50 because I was hand golding all my prints. But now that I'm finding these other avenues where I can get the gold laid on these bigger ones, I think I'm going to change my normal prints back down to 30 or 35 per print. Like I said, anytime I do streams, I'll kind of share with you guys what works, what doesn't. Not that any of you, or not that all of you want to do conventions necessarily, but I think there's just some curiosity. I've had a few people tell me in the past, like, they're not even artists, but they're just curious to hear like behind the scenes stuff. So I'll definitely keep sharing anything. Where was I? Oscar says, hello from Mexico. I've been following your work for over a year, so I'd like to know, how did you find out graphite was the technique for you? Hi, by the way, hi, Josh. He sends his love from the room next door as he's prepping more con stuff now. How did I find out that graphite was for me? So it was back in 2016, I want to say. I met, or I should say I went to a convention called Spectrum Fantastic Art Live, and that was like the highest caliber of like quality art in a convention ever. That was like, for sure, it was way different than anime or Comic Cons because you could just feel the presence was elevated. And as I'm walking around, I'm meeting artists like Brahm and Justin Gerard and Alan Williams, Annie Stagg, the Justin Sweets, the what are their names? Oh, I'm blanking on them right now. But I met, they're really good sculptures. Nope, can't think of it. And me as like a 23-year-old or 24-year-old, like just out of college, walking around and then seeing all these high caliber artists, it was like mind blowing to me. But the one that really stole the show was, or at least for me, he did, was Alan Williams. Now, if you guys don't know Alan Williams' work, I think he is the best living graphite artist alive currently. When it comes to technique and texture, he is incredible. You may not know his work by name, but you may know his work from all the movies that he's been a part of, like the Hellraiser series, or not Hellraiser, the Hellboy series, and he did the newest book with Pan's Labyrinth with Del Toro. He is just phenomenal with a pencil. Now, mind you, I also have, like, I feel like there's 3 living legend artists that I really admire nowadays when it comes to working with pencils. And that's Miles Johnston, Alan Williams, and... Well, actually, now I'm thinking about it, there's a few. I'm like trying to narrow it down to 3, but I'm like, no, actually, there's like 5 or 6. Vallarte is definitely in there. But anyways, when I went to his booth at Spectrum, I remember being like, oh my God, your booth is entirely graphite. Like, it's all black and white pencil stuff. I didn't even know that was like viable, because at that time I was doing all digital. That's all everyone was talking about, because the market was really ramping up on like all studio production was starting to use Photoshop almost primarily. No one was doing hand animation. No one was doing traditional painting for concept art. Oop. Oh my gosh. Once again, we got the mom call at Wednesdays between 2 and 4, even though she knows I typically stream in this time period. But it wouldn't be a proper stream if my mom didn't call me, even though I've told her she's calling again. Even though I've told her numerous times, please do not call me on Wednesday between 2 and 4 p.m. Love my mom, but oh my goodness. Anyways, so then, yeah, I walked away from that convention being like, I'm going to do pencil. And I feel much more confident in pencil than I do digital. So my first con after that show was OhioCon. I think it was 2017 at that point. And I might have a picture somewhere of it too, where I changed from doing a lot of digital fan art with like popping buttons behind my booth, like little buttons that you would have a pin behind, that are now kind of obsolete. I feel like enamel pins took over that market. And then I just had my original pencil work and then my original swordplay illustrations, which is this like illustrated novel that I'm going to one day finish. But I have to put that on the back burner while I'm working on this tarot deck. Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. But at that show specifically, I did double what I normally do in terms of sales. And I think that gave me the confidence, kind of like what we were talking earlier about, like, how do you find self-confidence? I took a risk. I took down all my fan art. I took down all my color digital. I put up only black and white pencil and original, and I did double what I normally do. And I think that show showed me like what's possible. So because of meeting Alan Williams, it changed my life. I have no words more than what he's given me in terms of like a direction and a desire to move more in like a graphite direction. And it was really nice because I've gotten to know him and his wife Vicky a little bit over the years. And one of the years, I actually have it framed over there, but I was looking through his sketchbook. He had like originals out in the sketchbook portfolio folder, and I was like really studying and analyzing the different ways he was shading with the pencil, because I was curious on how he was able to get this texture and this beautiful gradations. And there was one of these pieces I was really looking at because it was a study of different forms, and I thought it was so masterfully done. So I was staring at it for like 5-10 minutes. And I remember the second time I came back to his booth, he was like, I noticed you were looking at this for a while. And he's like, I can tell you're someone that appreciates pencil drawings. He's like, I want to give it to you. And me being, I think I was like 25 at the time. Now, mind you, Alan Williams was like my hero from the year before that I met him. So then the year after him giving me one of his original pieces, essentially for free, actually it was for free, not even essentially, it was free. And I'm just some nobody kid, it like meant the world for me. I remember I started crying a little bit. Um, and I still have that drawing in my room, framed, still in the sketchbook sleeve, because he took the whole sleeve out. He didn't just give me the drawing, he gave me the sleeve. And that's still one of my most prized possessions to this day. And it's a reminder to not only be a good artist as you get older and mature, but to be a good person. And that has stuck with me so much. And I think meeting other artists, it's really cemented the idea of like, don't just aim to be a good artist. Remember to be a good person. And the people that connect with your work, be sure to connect with them back, and don't put like this barrier between people of like, I am on a pedestal because you admire my work. It's no. You are on the same level and we're connecting through this medium. And I don't know. I want to be that artist as I get older to then pass the torch to younger artists. And I hope I can continue to do that. So yeah, just a reminder for anyone out there, if you are an artist as well, be a good person first and foremost. And it goes a long way. Like I was mentioning earlier with the Cali kids, as they were giving me constructive feedback on what I can do to improve upon, they weren't doing it because they pitied me. They did it because they wanted to see me succeed. And I think that does come down to how do you treat others, and it'll be returned in some form or fashion. Moving on. Felix says, I've been playing the Elden Ring Convergence mod, and it's really fun way to experience the game in a new way. There's 27 new classes with different spells, weapons, etc. I didn't even know it had available mods. I mean, I'm definitely more of a old school gamer. I don't play PC games. I play on the console. So I'll talk to Josh. He's really good at doing mods and stuff. So I didn't even know there were that many mods for Elden Ring, but that kind of sounds fun. Let's hear. I'll just do a few more dots along this piece, and then we'll move on to, I got one more to do here. Any weird experiences at cons? Yes, definitely too many to name, but I will think of, let's see. What was one that really stands out? Oh, okay, there's two. But now that I'm thinking about it, there's definitely, well, three. There's three that stand out to me. The first one was in Florida, and it was Florida SuperCon, I want to say. I can't remember specifically the name, but it was really bad for all of my friends and myself. No one really did that well. But there was one guy that came up to my booth, and I had a fairy drawing that I had on the booth, and he came up to me and he's like, I like the fairy drawing you did here, but I'm not talking about, what was it? Now I'm misquoting it. Nope, Mom, you cannot call me during this time. It was something along the lines of, I like this fairy, but I don't like those kind of fairies, if you know what I mean. And then like winked at me. And I don't know if he was just not aware that I was not only gay, but my art is kind of more effeminate. So I don't know how he didn't pick up on the fact that, yes, I'm also gay. So he was trying to like say something, clever at me, as like, oh, we can bond on the fact that we both don't like those kind of fairies. So I kind of just like looked at him. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like winked back. But clearly I was like, what are you talking about, sir? That one was really awkward. And then I had someone at a Minnesota show come up to my booth. It was this girl. She was like 14, and she really liked my art. But then her mom came by, and I could tell she was like disgusted by it. And the daughter was like, I really want to buy. I had a Woodland Youth drawing, so it's like a boy with horns coming out. And she was like, no, honey, this is demonic. This person needs help. And I remember just standing there like, okay. So that one was weird. And then my all-time weirdest experience was at the only fur con, which is like a furry con I've ever done in my life, and the only one I ever will do, because I was so uncomfortable the whole time. and that was at Midwest Fur Fest. And the only reason I did it is because I never really do December cons. And there's not a lot of cons that happen in December. I was like, well, let's make some money, extra like spending holiday money. And everyone told me that they make a lot of good money when they do furry conventions. Now, mind you, I'm not really particularly fond of furries to begin with, but I went. I was like, you know what, keep an open mind. And that whole convention was uncomfortable. No offense to anyone if they really enjoy fur cons that are in the chat, but I did not enjoy myself at all. Whether it was like, there was an 18 plus giant section of the con, and I was like, well, I have to see what's behind there. And obviously I'm going to keep my stream viewer friendly, we'll just say, but there were a bunch of adult baby accessories, and it was just really, I just hated it. I didn't enjoy it. There were a lot of people walking around barefoot, a lot of people dressed as animals that would bark at me behind the booth. I'd be like, they would clearly want to buy a print, but instead of saying the name or like which one they wanted, they would like bark and then point. But I had so many prints behind me, I'm like, this one? And I like keep pointing. I'd be like, do you want, this one? And he'd be like, he would just bark, and I'd be like, okay, was that a yes? It was very weird. But the number one weird experience I've ever had at con, and the reason I will never do a fur con again, is there was a mom and a daughter that came up to the booth. Now, mind you, at this point, I've had people bark at me. I've had people like do weird things in their animal costume in front of my booth. It was just weird. I did not enjoy it. But I had this mom and a daughter who were not dressed up at all come to my booth, and everyone was wearing, though, like my pronouns are name tags, and the father walked up with them as well. Sorry, let me get the story right. The dad walked up first, and I noticed his name tag said my pronouns are father and husband, something kind of cute like that. And I was like, oh, that's cute. He's clearly just trying to support this family, and his daughter, who is into this like weird thing that he doesn't quite understand. But then the mom and daughter walk up, and I noticed that they're wearing kind of similar outfits. I'm like, okay, I guess the mom and daughter wanted to dress the same. And then I noticed their pronouns, and the daughters said, our pronouns are we and us. I'm like, that's weird. Maybe they have some, like, I don't know if it was like multiple personality disorder. I didn't really know what they were getting at. But then the mom also had the same, our pronouns are we and us. And I'm like, okay. But then I didn't really start to understand until they started talking, and they tried to talk kind of in unison. And then it hit me like a truck. Oh my God, they are trying to identify as like one unit. And this girl was only like 13 or 14 years old. So I'm like, this is the mom's fault. Maybe this is not a PC take. Maybe this is a hot take that I shouldn't be saying live on air, but I don't care. I felt so uncomfortable talking to this mother-daughter who tried to identify as one unit. So never doing a FurCon again. I don't care how much money I made. I will say, if you want to make some money, you can definitely make some money at FurCons, but you also have to deal with a lot of uncomfortableness. If that is not your vibe, which it is not my vibe. So yeah, that was my number one most uncomfortable experience at a show. And I just had to like sit there as they tried to talk to me as like one unit. Oh, I hated it. I would have rather had the person that was barking at me come back than have to talk to this mother-daughter trying to talk at the same time. Let's see here. Oh, Elena, hello. Couldn't watch most of the stream due to being busy, and now going to lurk for the rest of the stream as I take care of more things. Absolutely, lurk away. I'm just talking about my uncomfortable convention stories and gold leafing. Oh yeah, I should mention, so this print is actually an extension of one that I did before. This is my floral goddess. The original drawing is like, I want to say like this big. So it's in between these two brackets. And then one of my friends, oh, hold on. Josh, Grab Casper, please. Poor Casper is wearing a cone, so he can't get through the cat hole right now, and I feel bad, but I can't open the door because I have so many prints with glue on them behind me. But anyways, my friend convinced me to try doing playmats, so I printed out the original drawing and I put on brackets on either side, so I penciled it to be bigger. And it was the first time I've ever extended one of my drawings, and it was actually a very, what's the right word here? It's very calming. I was just like back in the backyard in the gazebo drawing more like flowers and extensions to this piece. And I just really enjoyed it. So I might do this to more of my drawings. We'll see if playmats do well. I personally don't understand why someone would buy a playmat that's mostly white because my drawings are white. So like why it's going to get dirty, you know? But I was given a lot of feedback that people don't care if they get dirty. They just want to see my art as a playmat. So I'm going to test it out. I have my doubts, but you got to risk it if you want reward. So on this one, anyways, I'm going to try to do the petals and then some of like the little accents, but I'm not going to go too crazy with the gold on this one. Yes, it was very uncomfortable. Lovecraftian hive mind people. It was very weird. Felix says, I'm very liberal and people can do whatever they want, but no one is entitled to me being comfortable with everything. Yeah, I definitely consider myself very middle of the road. I try to stay as moderate as I can. Nothing really offends me, and nothing. I feel like I can talk to anyone about any discussions because I try not to stay closed-minded on right or left topics. So I try to stay open-minded, but I think that convention like pushed me over. I was like, you know what? Not for me. Just not. I just won't do these anymore. Adam says that's does anyone else have big questions about the father husband dude now? Yeah. Well, I noticed he wasn't really talking very much and he wasn't standing like right next to them. He was just kind of like by this like 2 feet away from them, not talking at all, being very quiet. And I'm like, I don't know how the day-to-day is behind closed doors, but I can imagine it might be a little strange. I try not to assume things. I read the 4 agreements early this year, which says one of the rules are, or agreements are you're not supposed to assume anything. But I was assuming things that day. I was definitely assuming how weird it must be to be in that household where your wife and daughter are trying to be one single unit. I love people. I'm one of those people that I try to see the good in everyone, but I will say Midwest Fur Fest made me challenge that quite a lot that whole weekend. I'm definitely one of those people. I mean, these are definitely more hot takes here, but anything that involves like children being used in a like intimate matter, like the whole baby things that you could buy in the 18 plus giant section, like that was revolting. That was like foul. I was like, I can't imagine. I can't. So I think the little gems on her body I'm gonna accent with gold, but I'm not gonna do too much else. Like I don't want to do much more than like the petals and these little gems. And this is the last one that I am gluing here, so then we'll finally get into the gold part. Because a lot of you are like, what? I've been watching this guy lay down pink sludge on prints all day. When is he actually going to apply the gold? It's coming. It's coming very soon. Don't worry. There we go. Oh, thank you guys. The drawing is so well done. Beautiful. Chris, I love that drawing. She's gorgeous. This has definitely been my most popular drawing on social media of all time. And then at shows, she consistently does sell very well. And what's funny is this drawing was just a random drawing that one day I went outside in the middle of summer and I just started drawing flowers, and I really wanted to draw like a lady just like floating amongst petals, and this is what came out. And I had such a good time drawing it that I try to see this drawing as a reminder that when you go into a drawing with such like a happy vibe or such a happy mood, sometimes the drawing can reflect that and people can pick up on that. Like they can sense it, that you had like a good time drawing it. And there are times where I do drawings where I'm not enjoying them, and I think people can read into that when it's finished. And that's just, when I look at this drawing, it tries to be a reminder for myself to enjoy what I'm actually creating, because if you don't, people might be able to read into it. Yeah, this one's definitely gonna have a lot of little pink petals that will turn gold. Do I use models? I typically use myself or Josh for most of the drawings as reference, because when I was a teacher, I tried to tell my students that like we are a free walking reference, and you shouldn't be embarrassed to like set up a phone camera, set it on a timer, and just get in the pose that you need. And I think that's been very helpful for me over the years because I've been very comfortable just taking photos of myself in different positions. But when it comes to the women, I just take photos of myself and then edit the proportions and the anatomy a bit, obviously, to fit more of a woman figure or a feminine figure. And sometimes it becomes more fantastical. Like her proportions are definitely very exaggerated, like very elongated. And I think I like playing in this realm more where I'm not confined by realism anatomy all the time. I like pushing and playing with what's real and then rendering it in a way that feels real, but in a way that it is more stylized. So yeah, typically I don't really use models, admittedly. Do I have any favorite animals? Yes, I have quite a few. I love, if we're talking dogs, I love bulldogs. I love wombats in Australia. I got to meet one when I went over there. That was wonderful. Um, I love like chunkier looking animals, like hippos, elephants. I'm trying to think if I have like a number one. I feel like I haven't been asked this in so long. I don't even know what my number one is anymore. I mean, I've been a huge fan of cats recently. I grew up definitely more of a dog person, but now that I'm older, I really enjoy the company of cats. Man, what animal do I just, when I see them, I'm like, yeah, I love that animal? I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. I did learn when we were driving down to Gen Con, Josh put on this podcast about animals. So I learned a lot about squirrels and bats. That was very interesting. Um, I've come to learn and appreciate animals in a new light. I think I'm gonna start, or I think we're gonna make it a tradition now to like listen to these animal podcasts when we drive to conventions, because they're very informative and just kind of fun to know more about the natural world that's around us. Well, no. What about you guys? If you had to pick a favorite animal, what would you pick? Felix says I love snow leopards, and dogs are the bestest boys. I do. I will always love dogs, but I don't know if I ever want to own one again. I had a roommate that had one, and me and Luna, that was the dog's name, we did not see eye to eye because she was a barker. She was like a little dog, and I did not enjoy my experience with her as much as I did when I grew up with a Labrador. I loved my Labrador growing up, but she like never barked. I think being around a dog that barks all the time, it like totally changed my view on dogs. And I know you can't really blame the dog; you have to blame the owner. Um, but it turned me off so much from wanting to own a dog as a pet, because at that point I was living with two cats, and I saw how easy they were to take care of, and their maintenance was super low. And I was like, yeah, I think this is more my speed for the career that I have, where I'm like constantly leaving for conventions, or I just need like uninterrupted periods of time where I can draw on the couch. And if we had a dog, it'd be jumping on the couch all the time, or trying to like grab my attention, or go for a walk, or go outside to go to the bathroom. So I do love dogs, don't get me wrong, but I don't see myself owning a dog. Unless if I'm much older, I'm not doing cons anymore, I would like to have a bulldog. I just think they're really cute. Or a Great Dane. I think Great Danes are they're really cool dogs. I just like them. And not even because they're Scooby-Doo. I like the look of them. They look like very strong dogs. Anyways, what else are you guys saying? Bats, cats, and tigers. Yeah, like all three of those. Cat mom all the way, but I love the corvid family of birds too. Or corvid. I don't even know what that means. Are those like large flying birds? What's a corvid bird? See, I'm learning things on the stream too now. We can share animal facts. Actually, I guess I should share one first. For squirrels, we found out that they can be very communal, so they can share their nests with other squirrels, or they can like what was the those like giant leaf bundles on near the tops of trees. So those are squirrel nests. Those are not bird nests, and we see them all the time because we live in Wisconsin. So I think there's like 5 trees in our backyard that have those leaf clumps. And I like squirrels, so I actually don't mind if they hang out in our backyard. Some people like hate squirrels. I never understood that. I think squirrels are like, they're fine. Like, yeah, they might steal bird food, but besides that, they kind of leave you alone. Okay, are you guys ready for the fun part? What was the first one we did? I think it was the Hollow Queen. Okay. I'm gonna make sure I don't roll over any of the prints again. Crows, ravens, blue jays, etc. So are they like big birds? I guess you have to explain this to me. What's a corvid bird? Okay, so when we're laying on the gold leaf, here I'll zoom in a little bit. So essentially, I just like to let the gold leaf fall on it, and then I push and pull with the brush. Now, the reason I don't apply it flake by flake is I actually like the textured gold leaf result. I don't really care for when it's a flat reflective mirror look of gold leaf. I love texture in drawing. If you couldn't tell, I love texture in drawing. So why am I eliminating that with my gold leaf? And if I was to do just straight on mirror gold, I would probably just use ink instead. So as you can see, you kind of just push. It's like you're lightly punching the gold into the area that you want the gold leaf on, and then you just slowly but surely brush it away. And see how it creates, let me see if I can zoom in here enough. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from my camera phone, but it creates this texture that I really, really like. And that's why I know why people say gold leaf is difficult, because they try to create that perfect mirror, but I'm actually much more of a fan of this more texturized gold leaf. And because I've done gold leaf so often at this point, I know what I have to do to create, nice clean edges and create a nice finish. But if you notice that things aren't crisp, or you didn't cover it fully, you can easily just go back in again with your brush, with your glue, add in the area, wait another 10-20 minutes, and then add that gold back on. So I try not to overbrush it either. Sometimes if you brush too hard, you'll actually start lifting the gold flakes off of the glue, and that could be a problem. Oh, let's see here. Adam says, so corvid birds are fairly big, very, very smart, and carnivores. It's a whole thing. Corvids are strongly built, stout-billed birds, and they're 9 to 28 inches long. Okay. Okay, so I get it. Why did I leave why did I leave the glue to dry, essentially? So you want the glue not to dry completely. The reason why this is metal leaf glue is because you let it dry enough where it becomes what it's called tacky. And when it becomes tacky, the glue will stick better to it. But when it's wet, the gold will still shift because the surface, it's like a liquid. It'll just kind of like move slightly. So you want that glue to not fully dry, but you want it to dry just enough so that the gold won't be carried around the drawing. All right. And then because I like recycling my gold leaf, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this drawing and essentially just scoop the gold down, or let the gold fall. I'm not scooping anything here. And then I'm going to do a final brush on all of the drawings, or all the prints once they're finished. But for now, I'm just going to keep gold in them. And a lot of times you'll notice you don't need a lot. Gold leaf can go a long way, because if you're just doing small areas like this, and especially on some of the prints where they're just accents, you really don't need that much gold leaf at all. And what I like about textured gold leaf is it's going to be different every time. Because if you do the mirror gold leaf technique, it's just going to be a flat mirror. And sometimes you can kind of see the crease or the edge of where it stopped or began. So I like this method, but I totally respect if you are trying to do the nice clean mirror gold leaf effect. So just like we did on the last one, I'm just going to apply it and then slowly brush in small circles. Now, a big tip here is you really don't have to apply a lot of pressure at all. This is going to be more of a repetitive motion technique, more so than a force technique. You can see her face is becoming revealed again. And wherever the gold will kind of clump up like this just a little bit, it's because it's part of the flake is on the glue and the other part of the flake is just hanging in the air. So we want to brush away the part that's hanging in the air still. So this is more of like a test in patience, honestly. You can see the texture. Yes, that's what I mean. I love the texture. Oh, you mean, okay, so the camera did pick it up. Good. Because I love gold leaf texture. I don't know if it just gives me like an age, like vintage effect. I grew up with a family that raised me Roman Catholic, so I definitely went to a lot of cathedrals and churches and a lot of, statues and a lot of gold leaf on different areas. So I think I was just influenced as a young child seeing all these symbolic representations of these saints and whatnot, but in such a decorative, over the top fashion. So I think that's where my love of gold leaf kind of began. Now I don't consider myself religious anymore, but I do consider myself very spiritual. At least I try to think that. So I think my art is still kind of a reflection of that feeling. Okay, moving on to the fox here. I'll lay that out. Actually, you see all these small little gold flakes? These I actually don't like using as much or like recycling, so these I probably will throw away. And it's not enough of it to really make a difference. So what I do, now this is not a professional tip, this is a very like, if you're just trying to save time, I will literally brush it onto the floor next to me because I'll have a vacuum ready to just suck it all up. Like that. And there it is. Okay, moving on. So the fox one, I might lay it down just a little bit more. same thing. And I want to make sure, so he has the blood coming from his mouth. I'm going to pound those little flakes out first. Okay. And I do have to be a little careful that the bristles don't get stuck in the glue. I've had that happen before where the thistles will get stuck and then it's a little difficult to get them out. And sometimes it can pull like the gold flake on top of it off with it. So you'll have to use tweezers, or you don't have to, but I definitely recommend using tweezers or something to get those bristles out of the print. Oh, here's a good example. So see that one? So sometimes you can just kind of pick it out, but if it's under a gold flake, it might take the gold flake with it. All right, this one's looking nice. Okay, so let me grab the next one. I have to actually get up for this one. It's so far away. And that's why this is kind of fun, because once you have all the glue dried, that's why I like doing these in batches. You can just keep going from like one to the next. Brush away the excess. Once again, the non-professional way of just putting the excess on the floor so you can vacuum it up. And there we go. There is my relinquished piece. And then moving on to the pumpkin, huh? Thanks for the shout out for Kadams. Oh, for Kadams, actually one of the... Oh, I see. You did the actual definition of the birds. Yeah, corvids is something that I didn't know about before today, so thank you guys for teaching me something new. Kursvia says, oh, I've heard that word you just used to define stuff. Do you know the context for describing something as tacky? I know typically in America, I don't know how it is overseas, but if something is tacky, it's usually like cheap, it lacks taste. It's not really the most positive word associations. I don't know why tacky is also used to describe this stage of glue when it dries, but that's what I was told it is, so I don't know. Hello, Schrodinger Box from Italy. Hello, hello. How are you doing? You're coming in, if you're coming to the stream now, you're coming in during the most fun part. This is the gold leaf part. So it's funny, we spent the last like 2.5 hours laying down the gold, and then actually laying the gold is like super quick. Oh, you know what? I didn't finish his mouth. You can kind of see the bottom, see those little pockets, so those need to be filled in. So I guess maybe it's good that I did that on a live stream where I can show you guys what it looks like to fix any parts that need to be edited. Let me get this excess. Gold out of the way. Okay, so kind of like what I was mentioning earlier is if there's an area where you need to edit after the gold's been on, you can totally just reuse the same glue that you were using. So let me zoom in here. So the glue hasn't fully dried on my plate that I'm using. I'm gonna fill in. And you can even go over some of the parts that are already golded, just to make sure that it overlaps and there's no like awkward gap in between the gold and placement here. Gotta make sure I concentrate on this part. Okay. So I'm gonna set this one back. It almost looks like his tongue. I'm gonna go ahead and let this one dry again. Put that back on the drying floor. And continue with the golding. Chris says, you make it look so easy. I want to try it, but I feel like I'm going to result in a significant amount of cursing. No, you got to have more faith in yourself. It's really not that hard. Now, mind you, I'm doing the textured technique. If you want to do the nice clean mirror effect, way different. That one is actually a little more tricky because then you're laying it on and you really want to make sure that it doesn't overlap or crinkle, because then it'll be very obvious if that's the only crinkle in the entire area that's gold leafed. Okay, this one's looking pretty good. It got all the stars. Olivia says, are you always happy with your art? Is there anything that frustrates you / wish you could do better? You know, this year specifically, I have felt a lot of the hurdles, and I think a lot of it comes down to making this tarot deck has been very interesting because it's the opposite of how I normally work. I like letting my drawings grow organically, and with tarot, a lot of the symbolism and a lot of the positioning and composition I'm very heavily referencing from the original Rider Waite deck, and I think it's kind of messed with me a bit because I can't let my drawings just grow organically. That's how I normally do my process. So I think that has been a frustrating point for me this year. But the last 2 tarot cards I did, I actually really liked them. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying to answer it, but I noticed the umbrella in the backyard. You can't see it from here, but it was like in a table, but it just flew into the trees, and I'm like, oh boy, okay, I'll have to take care of that after the stream's over. What else frustrates me with my art? Oh, I think social media definitely has a weird influence over the way that I approach art, and I wish it didn't, but I'd be lying if I'd said it didn't. I definitely think about like framing, where I never let anything be too horizontal or vertical because it fits really weird on social media. So everything becomes a little more framed, a little more boxy because of that. I don't know if it's necessarily a negative thing, but it's definitely something that has influenced the way that I work. Okay, gonna once again lay the gold down. And then I'll show off all the results. Ooh, that is a big clump of gold at the very end here. All right, just like we were doing before. Slight punch it in because this is a larger area. Get all the little accessories that we did around the piece. And then start the circle process. Chalk Tomb says, is that real gold? Because one small hiccup on the painting means an entire McDonald's order, everything on the menu worth of claims flushed down the toilet, I reckon. Yes, so I do work with a real gold, but not on my prints like this. So I do have a little bottle of the real gold flakes, and I rarely use it though. That's on like super special like commission pieces or something. It's funny, and I know I'm sure collectors would cringe at me saying this, but I don't think there's too much of a difference between using real gold and the craft gold in terms of like the result. Like you could tell someone that this was real gold, and unless if you really know the difference between craft and real gold flake, it'd be very difficult to tell the difference. But I do agree, this would be quite a bit of money if I was using real gold, and that's why I save it only for really special commissions. So you can see some of these little accessories. You want to make sure you circle brush around the entire area of the little circle dots that we put on. These like little gems and areas around him. There we go. So definitely for an area like around his head, I'm going to switch to the bigger bristle brush. So it's definitely a little more powerful. There we go. Okay, I think we have, what, 2 more? 3 more. We have 3 more to go. Actually, we're making pretty good time for 9 gold leaf prints. Okay, next we have Tristan with his golden scales. My beautiful merman magic fish. Yeah, I'll definitely have to come back on some of these prints just to really rework. Like you can tell, I definitely have to buff out some of these gold areas. I mean, pretty good though, actually, for the first pass. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to the smaller brush here. Now remember for this one, we just kind of did different scales on his tail fin for the most part and the 3 earrings. So if we did this right, these should look like little golden scales going down his tail fin. Or would this be considered a tail fin? Or just his tail? What would this be considered? His lower body? Whatever you want to call this. And then just a little bit on his earrings. Sometimes the smaller ones are actually more difficult than the larger areas because you really got to get a precise, and you can kind of see it. Let me see if I can zoom in here. You can kind of see the earrings. In person, it's way better. On camera, it's a little rough to see. Okay. And then you can kind of see the gold fins that we have there. And then we got 2 more. Let me grab the floral goddess one. And I'm just going to literally take all of these gold flakes and lay it down. Now, mind you, if you haven't noticed, gold leafing can be very messy. So I definitely recommend having a vacuum nearby or something that can pick up any little excess flakes that fall on the floor, because you don't want to pick up too many of the ones that fall on the floor because those might get cat hair. There might be other weird dust and clumps that you don't want to get integrated. But if you can keep them on the table, you can definitely still collect them and reuse them for future projects. But I think once it hits the floor, there's no 5-second rule. I think it's done. Now this one, we're essentially looking for anything pink, and we're trying to just quickly cover it with these gold flakes. Let me get some of the questions here. Adam says, you've probably answered this a million times before, but I missed it. What kind of paper are you printing on? I print on Canon Pixma Pro 100 Premium Matte Pro paper. I have been working with that for like 5 years, 6 years maybe. I think it's very reliable. I really like the paper texture. It has 0 gloss. It looks and feels like a real pencil sketchbook drawing. So that has been really nice. I think partially it's because I also scan with an Epson 10,000 scanner, and that one's really, really good at capturing pencil drawings. And then I print with the Canon Pixma Pro 100, which does a really good job, but we did just buy the Pro 1000, which is bigger and I can do bigger prints. And those are partially some of the ones we're trying to bring to DragonCon. And some of my friends swear by it, definitely over the 100. Actually, some of my friends, if any of you follow Inkwell Illustrations, he hates the Pro 100. He even made a whole video about where to get prints made as an artist, and he like smashes his old Pro 100. I also did an interview with him recently, if you want to check it out, about the state of social media and the direction that it's heading in. I'll put a link in the description after this live stream is over, or you could just type it in. I think it's like Inkwell. What did he name that video? Something like Social Media's on Fire or something, featuring vonnart. Forgot what he officially titled it, but something along those lines. Okay, so now I'm gonna push a lot of this gold to the side. Let me brush it off and I'll show you guys what the end result looks like here. Sometimes I like doing this part with the drawing vertical so that the gold leaf just falls straight down rather than just landing on another part of the drawing. Some nice ASMR for you. See, sometimes you'll get like little, I don't know if you can see this very well. Like, I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna pull it off. So yeah, as we get into the last gold leaf print here, if you guys have any last minute comments or questions, I'll do my best to answer it, and then we'll head out for the day. Then I also have a volleyball game that I have to get to later today, even though Wisconsin's going through like a weird heat wave. We're in like the 90s, I believe, today, or hundreds. No, I think it's just 90s. But thankfully the sun will be down by the time I'm actually playing volleyball because it's outdoor volleyball. All right, there we go. So this one, it's definitely better in person because you kind of have to use the lighting reflection to see all the little petals. You can kind of see it in some angles here. Yeah, you see? Yeah. I'm like trying to make it easier for you guys. But then we have one final one, which was our fix. We gotta fix up this mouth here. Let's see here. Let me read the comments really quick. Brandy says, what do you use to prevent the drawing from smudging or erasing after you are finished with your pieces? Thank you. I actually don't use like a smudge guard or a glove or anything. I just work with an eraser at hand, and then I work left to right. I try to keep my hand out of areas where it could smudge the paper, and I save my darker tone pencils, so like my HB, my 2B, 3B, whatever, till like the last 20% of the drawing. Up until that point, I work with a 2H, and that pencil is really easy to erase and lift if necessary. So this was the piece that we had to edit to fix the mouth. And as you can see, the areas that we put the glue in just filled in really nicely, and it's cohesive. So it's really easy to fix textured gold leaf if you need to. It's much harder to fix the perfect laid gold leaf, the mirror effect gold leaf. So yeah, and there we go. Let me find these last comments and questions here. Romina says, hola, saludos desde Argentina. Well, hello. Felix says, I think the Cityscape tarot card was really fun because you challenged yourself with an environment and it was more of a departure from the original card. Well, thank you. That one was really a lot of fun, but I do notice when I post tarot cards on my socials, they do not do well. It could be the art itself. It could be people just don't find it like a personal connection with it. But I also think there is a little bit of association with tarot being demonic, and I don't think a lot of people vibe with it. So I gotta be careful moving forward with how much I post of tarot. And I guess I can kind of understand to some degree because it's not like a personal like message that I'm getting out there. I am using the original Rider Waite deck a lot as my inspiration and influence, but I'm glad that it's still read that way for you because I definitely had a lot of fun on that one. Felix says, do you ever take out prints out of your convention collection because they don't sell well, even if you like them? Yeah. There will definitely be a stubborn part of me that keeps, I think there's 3 drawings that I want to keep in there, like Fallbringer. This one, even though doesn't always fit because it'll be like mid-January. Like, why am I selling this pumpkin spooky Halloweeny guy? I don't care. I love this drawing a lot. I'm going to keep them on there. But if I notice there's a drawing that like is just not making sales, I always think how it's hurting the overall amount of money that we could make. And because I'm we're living in a single income household with me and Josh, I always think that it's affecting my family, my future husband, the house payments. So I try to put my ego aside and be like, okay, I need to focus on what people will want to actually purchase from my art. I mean, it's still my art, so I shouldn't be too butthurt about it. But I do have to be aware that, yes, I have to be inclined to put prints up that will sell more than the ones that maybe I personally like more. And that's okay. It's just, you're playing the game, but you can always have a little bit of that stubbornness to like keep some of the prints that you really love up there. Felix says, what cardstock? 100. Love your work, by the way. I actually don't know what cardstock it is. I think it's 120, but that's a quick Google search because it's the premium matte pro paper through Canon. So whatever cardstock that is, I'm sure it'll tell you when you Google it. Felix says, how's your experience with the new printer so far? I know it's not really worth it for me right now to print at home, but with the recent shenanigans with my print company, I just want to know. So far, pretty great. We are printing 11 by 22 inch. It's not quite a standard size. The standard would be 16 by 20 inches or 16 by 24 inches. I don't know how that relates to the metric system or I think it's a A2 print, I want to say. I'm so bad with knowing the standard frame sizes by their official names, but I think it's A2, which is really great because I want to do bigger prints to have with me at shows. So definitely has been good so far, but I'll let you know after like a month of using it if I would actually recommend it. So far, though, it's been good. Adam says, I was saving up for a Pixmo 100, but I might have to change my mind now. Actually, they discontinued the Pixmo 100. So if you try to buy one, it's way overpriced. It's like $600, $700, $800 because they don't make it anymore. It's becoming like this rarity of a printer to find and own. So at this point, I would just buy the 1000 if you're saving up for a printer anyways, because the 100 is going to be harder and harder to not only find, but definitely for like software updates or ink cartridges, I think they'll just become outdated and you might as well just get the 1000 now. Okay, I think we're good then. So let me go through the final looks. See if I can get my camera to look a bit nicer here. There we go. Okay, so this is the Fallbringer. Actually, maybe as I do this, I'll try to do my final buff. This is, yeah, definitely have to do some buffing on these after the stream's over. But here is my Banished Prince. You can see the nice little golden scales that he has in his tail fin, and then his little accessories. 3 earrings there. There's that one. We have the Floral Goddess extended version, which this one is weirdly a little harder to see on camera, but you can kind of see it when I like bend the paper slightly. So there's that one. Then the Suncatcher. Now this one I'll definitely have to buff quite a bit. I can see some of these like little fragments of gold sticking out. So I'll definitely take this one and buff it out a bit more after the stream's over. But essentially we got the halo behind him and then the little accessories of gold interwoven into his coat there. Next we have, oh my gosh, some of these I really got to buff after the stream. And buffing is essentially just this process where you're doing small circles on top of the gold to try to clean the edges out a bit more. So you can kind of see how like some of the edges aren't perfectly crisp, and that's probably because I didn't buff it enough. So you can see if you buff it harder, usually that'll take care of that. So yeah, for this one, we had her holding that globe, which is like another representation of the moon. And also, you see there's like a flake at the top here. See that run right there? I actually might glue over that one and redo it because it stands out so much that it actually looks a little distracting to me. So I'm gonna, after the stream's over, I'm just gonna glue over that and a little over the edges just to create more of a consistency within the gold there. Besides that though, I like this one too. And then we did the stars in the background. Next, we have Relinquished, which is my fox. And then also amply named by a little name convention, Chicken Noodles. I have no idea why she named him Chicken the fox. This one more nice edge on the line that goes through them. Goes anytime. I very little creating with the glue. We have My Demon's Facade, and this is the one of the best sellers. So Felix, this would be a good example of, even though they're drawing, and I mean I do like it to some degree, but like I wouldn't put it out alongside like my newer drawings like this one that are definitely more complex and show more of my technical skill. I think just because not only does it sell well, but I think it just reads well for people. It's a very simple, clean drawing. And I can't say that phrase without thinking of Kingdom Hearts, but I think it just resonates right away. They get it. It's something they might want to put in their house. This will be one of those prints that I might just always have in my catalog. Who knows? At least for the foreseeable, it'll be in there. And then started was my simple one with 3 orbs and the 2 little kind of earrings hanging off of her ears there. Actually, I really like how simple this one is with the gold. It's just like, it's effective. It's like right in the center. You see the gold orbs. I think it creates a nice impact. I could be delusional, but I think you have to be a little delusional to be an artist. So yeah, those were all the prints that we gold leaf today. I want to thank you guys so much for coming to this live stream. I won't be here next week because we'll be at DragonCon, but the week after, I think we're going to do a Drawtober style live stream to kind of celebrate getting ready for it because the calendar will be out by then. And let's see, what other last minute things do I have? Oh yeah, you can join my Patreon below. You can see all of my step-by-steps of every drawing. I like to show what I'm working on and things that I don't normally show anywhere else, alongside oh, do I have it with me? I do not have it near me, but actually on Monday, I'm going to give out my summer reward, which is a metal 3-dimensional pin that I made recently. So if you are a gold backer by next Thursday, you will get one free in the mail. And we have a Discord below. The Drawtober Discord is also open to join. We just passed 1,000 followers or members. And actually, this print is going to be randomly given to one of the members on there. So if you want to take home this print for free, you can win it. I'll probably post something about it tomorrow. I got to figure out how to do a like random poll generator or like how to enter. I'll figure that out, or at least Josh will know how to figure that out, and we'll do that tomorrow. And then besides that, I think we're good to go. So thank you so much again for coming to this live stream and for having the conversation just continue going. And oh, thank you, Romina. Oh, that was really nice to say. Thank you. All right. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. And if you're going to be in Atlanta next weekend, you can find me at DragonCon in the art show, which is in the basement of the Marriott Hotel. It sounds like a lurky, creepy dungeon, but it's actually this beautiful carpeted art show with some of the best artists in the country and in the world, actually. So thank you so much for coming to this live stream, and we'll see you next time. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye, 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 bye.